What would you do if you only had energy from the food you ate when you were a kid? You may move as little as possible, and only when you had to. That's what the Atlas moth does, since it doesn't have a mouth designed for eating food. But what does it do when predators show up, looking to snack on a gentle, defenseless insect? Sometimes a bluff goes a long way in life, death, and taxonomy. Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Brian for the creation of our theme song. Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube or Spotify.
And thank you to Brian for the creation of this week's artwork. Brian is a different kind of artist. He works with the visual. If you want to check out this week's artwork, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com.
And today we're talking about an insect that wants you to think it floats like a butterfly and stings like a bee. But more on that later.
Yeah, because if it's giant stinger, right?
Right, exactly.
No, not at all. We're talking about the Atlas moth.
That's right.
You know, the Titan.
A moth that holds up the world.
Yeah. It's been cursed to do so by Zeus himself.
Mm-hmm.
Also known as, we're going to call it here, the Fontaine's fuzzy flying... Wait,
Friend?
Hold on. I messed it up. Fontaine's fuzzy futuristic flyers. That's what I meant to say. I typed it in wrong.
Okay. I didn't understand that reference.
It's a BioShock reference because it's a spoiler BioShock reference.
Ooh.
So if you haven't played this 16-year-old game, go play it. I'm not going to spoil it. The next one is To Kill a Mothingbird. That was the smart one I was thinking of, which will become... The joke will become apparent when we talk about the genus.
The joke will become apparent when it has little baby jokes.
Correct. Or at least one. And then it won't sleep anymore. Because we're done with that.
You've transcended it.
Transcended sleep. And then the last one is Atlas Moth. That's all.
My moth has come along.
My moth has come along. Yep. Would you like to taxonomize this? Or would you like me to taxonomize
My caterpillar days are over. Although, what's a moth when it's a worm? Not a worm.
It is.
Is it a caterpillar? What's the other one?
They're both caterpillars.
That's not true.
It is true. I respectfully disagree. It is true. They're both caterpillars.
I typed in caterpillar and I got the construction parts company.
Oh, yes. So let's taxonomize this, Captain.
Okay.
The kingdom is one you know, love, and are in. And that kingdom is Animalia. The phylum is not Arthropoda.
Nope.
As Joe has often said, it's Arthropoda. So it's Arthur feet.
That's right.
King Arthur feet. Or the
Aardvark.
Aardvark. Aardvark. I do know how to spell that thanks to that show. The class is Insecta. The order, Lepidoptera. It's a Leopleurodon. The family is Saturnidae. So it has an outdated car. The genus is Atticus. Which is why I called it To Kill a Mothingbird.
Ah.
Get it?
Yes.
Atticus Finch is one of the major characters in the
Another
story.
bird.
Yeah, another bird. She kind of got it on the nose with that one. because they're the finches. And the species is Atlas. So Atticus atlas is the name of the Atlas moth. Because it knows its way around the world. It has and is an atlas. Since we're in the business of naming things, though, it's time for my favorite part of the show, critter groups. The part of the show where I ask you, Joe, a question, and that question is the same every time. What is the name of a group of this animal? What is the term of entry? Or what is the collective noun? It's all the same. If you saw a group of atlas moths, or just moths in general, would you say it's A, an eclipse of moths, B, a luna of moths, C, a wane of moths, or D, a phase of moths?
It's just a phase.
Are you? It's there's a bunch of moths coming towards us. It's just a phase. I don't know if you can tell. There's a theme for this one. Maybe I'll go themed going forward.
Moons, lunar. You said what? Give them to me again.
Eclipse, luna, wane, and phase.
I'm going to say an eclipse. They blot out the moon.
Our moths will blot out the moon.
Then we will hug in the shade.
Is that your final answer, eclipse?
Sure.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ooh.
That's correct. The answer is an eclipse.
You know what
moths.
was waning? My confidence. I did not expect that to be the right answer.
Really? Then what did you expect to be the right answer?
Well, I was between eclipse and the last phase.
Phase?
Yeah. That would be nice. There's a phase coming. No, they're butterflies. It's not just a phase, Mom.
It's whatever a group of butterflies is. Have we done that one?
I don't know.
Probably. Pavilion. That's not true. Butterfly Pavilion is a very singular structure at Tradewinds Park.
A very, very deep cut.
Yeah, it's very, very deep cut for everyone who lives in Coconut Creek, Florida.
Butterfly capital of the world.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you want to go see more butterflies than you usually do, go to Butterfly World. It's pretty cool. Anyway, let's talk about what this particular moth, not butterfly, looks like. So as a caterpillar, that's the first larval stage. Atlas is green with spines that are white and waxy, kind of like the Jimmy Fallon exhibit at Madame Tussauds. Their cocoons look like brown dried leaves, and that's mostly because they are brown dried leaves. Once they become moths, or their last stage called the imago, they have large...
The Imago Dei?
Yes. The image of God. They have large rust red wings with cream colored tips that have no other interesting design features whatsoever. So we can move on. Their wings also have fang or claw shaped patterns on each side. So kind of like little curved triangles that look pretty interesting. And their bodies are also rust colored with cream colored stripes. So they actually look kind of tasty. They and then on the tops of their heads they have long feathered antennae that look like the sea pen. If you've listened to our episode or seen the art on the sea pen, it looks like that.
It's pronounced scene pen.
Sean pen.
Yeah.
And they're very sensitive chemoreceptors, which will come into play later. But overall, this is one of the largest moths in the world. Not the largest moth. There are several moth species that beat it out, but as far as wingspan goes, it's up there.
That's all there is to say about that.
Time for fast facts.
Oh wait, let's talk about how big it is. Since you were mentioned, it might be among the biggest. Welcome to the Beloved Measure Up segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size and dimensions in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send in an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering. The words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new measure up intro, but that means we get to hear from an animal and Carlos has to guess what it is. You know, it might be time soon to redo an election.
Oh, yes, you said this not too long ago.
2 years ago, you know, the world was going through so much in terms of elections. We didn't want to overshadow
2 years ago
that with our or a year ago, a year from 2 election cycles ago. Last election cycle was in November.
Last time we did a vote for Critter Groups v. Measure Up. That was pre-COVID, I think.
Mm-hmm. And now I think Facebook has ended the polling thing.
The world is just a different place now, and I would have to say that I feel like people are definitely back to their senses at this point.
Definitely. No one is rabid anymore.
Yeah, there are no more irrational thoughts or behaviors, and therefore they can vote correctly, which is voting for Critter Groups.
Just like there are no cats in America. There
Exactly.
are no irrational people anymore.
No irrational people, right?
Right.
Yeah. We're done with that. We're a better country for it.
Anyway, let's dive into this. Let's hear from this animal.
Sure.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show.
I'm very interested to hear what the options are.
Is that A, Tina Belcher groaning? No. Is that A moose, B, a mouse, C, a mink, or D, a skink?
Is this a trick question? It can't be a skink.
There's no way I would put something in here just because it rhymed.
Yeah. I gotta be honest, it sounds a little rushed. What was the second one? Squirrel?
Mouse?
Mouse. Wow, this is a close call, but I think I'm gonna have to go with moose.
Final answer?
You're gonna get me. It's probably a mink. I'm not really 100% sure what a mink is. I know that like I've seen like mink coats, but I don't think it makes that kind of sound. I don't think it makes the sound of Tina Belcher grunting in the forest. So yeah, moose.
Final answer.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The gigantic forest footfalls were also kind of a big... The rest of these things are small.
I didn't know if people were like throwing things at it or it was being dragged.
No, one of them is licking a tree, just licking a tree. It goes meow, and then another one like seems offended by that and runs at it quickly, and then stops, and then goes about its business.
That's why you never give a moose a muffin or a tree.
If you give a moose a mile, they take an inch.
An inch. Yeah, that's so true.
Let's talk wingspan.
Sure.
They're 24 centimeters or 9.4 inches. Quite a big bug.
Yeah, this is dinner plate sized.
So, how many Atlas moths go into the height of the smallest elephant in the world?
Wouldn't the smallest elephant in the world be a fetal elephant?
Fair enough. The smallest elephant subspecies in the world.
Okay.
Here's a hint. The Borneo pygmy elephant is native to forests of Malaysia. It's the 4th officially recognized subspecies of Asian elephants.
And we're going by the height?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to say this thing is 4 feet tall. From its padded feet to its withers.
Also, we're going for the upper end of average. We should have went for in this case, the lower end of average because we're talking about something that's uniquely small. But we're going with the upper end of average for elephant height.
So I'm going to say the answer is 5.
5 moths.
5 moths.
Final answer.
Wingspans go from the feet to the withers. Yep.
The correct answer is 7.
Oh, so it's
about 8 feet. 1.7
feet
meters. But they.
What did I do wrong?
They probably can be around 5 moths tall. Like a small female. We're talking large male. 5 point. So that's the. You know what? You know what happened? That's the lower end of average. We did go with the lower end of average.
Oh, okay.
So it's 5.
Still, I like a 6.
5, 6.
That is a pretty small, full-grown snoot horse.
Yes. Let's talk larval length. The
larval cinematic universe.
Let me just go ahead and double check my conversions just to be sure.
Captain Larval. I've missed a lot of good options here.
They are 11.5 centimeters or 4.5 inches.
Okay.
How many moth larvae go into the height of the tallest living tropical tree?
How many calipiters?
Yeah.
That's how I used to say it, and every time I say caterpillar, I have to look. I have to pause and think. It takes
calipiters.
It takes some more brain power to say that word than others, because I have to fight against the calipitter.
Well, here's a hint.
Temptation. Tallest living tree, you said?
Tropical tree.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Here's a hint. The tree was found in Borneo via a flyover. Then they went and in 2019 climbed it and measured it. It's a
tropical tree. It's a tree in a tropical climate, or it's a tree that is
tropical in nature that grows in tropical climates. It's a yellow Miranti.
Because like palm trees, you could say are tropical.
Yes.
But they also grow in deserts. So.
Yeah. This is not a palm tree. It doesn't look like it's like it's if you look at it, it's one long trunk with a small like Q-tip of leaves at the top.
Like a lowland executor.
Yes. Although he looks like a palm tree at the top.
Yeah. All right, I have no way of knowing what this is, so 200 feet sounds super tall for a tree that's not like a redwood or something like that. Times 12 is 2,400 inches divided by 4.5 inches is 533 calipiters. Caterpillars.
Final answer.
Yeah. 533.
The correct answer is 857 moths. I mean, calipiters, yeah.
Calipiters.
The
constellation.
The tree was 98.53 meters or 323 feet and 3.1 inches.
That is pretty darn tall. Like you'd imagine that to be like the Avatar home tree, but like the style of tree, very thick and with lots of branches and stuff going on. But interesting.
But yeah,
all right.
You can click on a link at ldtaxonomy.com to see that record page without the picture of. Congratulations, you're looking at the Guinness Book of World Records website. It's just a stock photo. There's no tree. You don't get to see the tree.
It's so easy to just go and take a picture of it.
Google yellow Marinati. Maranti, not Marinati. Marinati.
That's like a Maserati, but for boats.
Against the ocean. Maranti.
I see it.
There it is.
It's tall.
It sure is. Do you have any fast facts before we get into the major facts machine?
I sure do. What's a fax machine? Goodness. Okay, yeah. So you mentioned Borneo. The Atlas moth lives in South, East, and Southeast Asia, from the stands to Japan's. They like forest and shrublands all around there, and that includes the island of Borneo, and a lot of the islands in Malaysia and Indonesia and things like that. As far as their diet goes, as caterpillars, they eat leaves to the surprise of no one. They primarily eat citrus, cinnamon, guava, and evergreen leaves, though their first meal is usually their eggshells. So eat your eggs, kids. I mean, like chicken eggs or whatever. So that's their first meal after hatching. They just eat what they were hanging out in. But as full-blown moths, their diet gets a lot more interesting. And by interesting, I mean non-existent. They don't have developed mouth parts, so they don't eat. They can't eat. They just live for a couple of weeks while they look for a mate. And so they live and love off of the fat they've stored up as a wee caterpillar. So, if you handed Atlas a sandwich, Atlas would shrug. Just good objectivist humor.
It's always libertarianism with you. Whether it's BioShock or Ayn Rand.
I mean, come on, it's Atlas. It had to be there. Plus, BioShock's like one of the best adaptations of objectivists' political philosophy. So yeah, that terrible joke aside, I am a dad now, so you got to give me some. You gotta give me some leeway. These are literally the only jokes I have left. So I just have to kind of roll with what I can read from one of those Uncle John's bathroom readers.
Awesome, good, clean jokes for kids.
Correct. Or 101 knock jokes.
Silent but deadly.
Oh, people are probably in physical pain from listening to this.
We should really do LDT presents the silent but deadly, good, clean dad jokes for reading in the bathroom.
Yeah, that's going to be our next project.
Our next big money making scheme.
Yeah, we just make so much money off of all of the other stuff that we can just kind of spit it out and make it work.
Fives of dollars we make.
Oh man! After taxes, it's a small fortune. The parasite takes. Oh, I'm not gonna go there. When the caterpillar gets to max length, which is 4.5 inches, it'll spin a cocoon out of silk and dead leaves, like I mentioned earlier, and it'll live in it for about a month before emerging as an adult with the world on its shoulders. Because it's an Atlas moth.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the fact that they can't eat, they need to conserve all of the energy they can to extend their lives. Each flight that they take can literally take days off of their life. So females, after coming out of their cocoons, will usually hang out pretty close to their cocoon. They don't do a whole lot of flying. The Atlas moth in general is not a very good flyer, mostly because they don't have a lot of time to figure it out. But she'll usually either fly up quickly or just crawl up to a place where the wind can take her pheromones that she releases and bring them to as many males as possible. And the males will use their energy to fly over to her and fertilize her eggs. This way she will hopefully have enough energy after the whole situation is done to actually lay the eggs. Otherwise, she might die before. If she has to fly to the males, then she might not make it. And usually the males come, fertilize the eggs, and then just die. And so what a life! It's kind of like the what was it? The black anglerfish.
Mm-hmm.
Or just a lot of insects where it's reproduce and then die. Outside of that, the Atlas moth may have been the cultural inspiration for the legendary Japanese monster Mothra.
Ah.
And that's all I got.
I also saw that males have antennae that are so sensitive they can detect just a few molecules of the female pheromone on the air.
Oh, yes. I meant to tie that into what I mentioned earlier. They have the C-pen antennas. Very sensitive chemoreceptors. I was going to mention that. Yeah, that's what they use those for.
C-pen.
Because it's very important that they find a female, and soon. And close by.
Yeah, their dating app range is set to like 5-mile radius.
It's like, I mean, she lives 10 miles away. I might die. So I'm gonna have to limit that range.
I am hungry and there's nothing I can do about it.
That's so awful.
Me playing Skyrim with the new survival mode on.
Anyway, I've never heard of that, and it sounds interesting.
They made Skyrim Breath of the Wild.
You don't have to eat in Breath of the Wild. Okay.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You don't. They made it into that game Outward.
Oh yeah, they made it into a really hyper-realistic D&D campaign.
Yes, and you can get a backpack and stuff. But let's get into the major fact, which I called Snake in the Grass.
Like a green snake into sugar cane.
Mm-hmm. Something like that.
That's a Hermes saying.
Ah, it's just Greek mythology with you now. You've moved from...
It's just... I forgot... I forgot that... no, that was a Futurama joke. I forgot that Hermes is anything other than the dumpy Jamaican from Futurama.
The bureaucrat. Atlas moths are large insects, but they are delicate and vulnerable, and they can eat, and they're very hungry, and they're under a lot of stress. So
I can totally relate.
It hit too close to home, this one.
Delicate and vulnerable, and I can't eat. I'm under a lot of stress. The kids won't let me sleep.
But they're vulnerable to fast-moving predators. But who's not? When flight can't carry them to safety, and when they don't want to expend the energy, they have to rely on something else to avoid becoming lunch. Atlas moths have extensions on the tips of their forewings that look incredibly like snake heads.
So there was something interesting about the tips of their wings.
I don't mean it's sort of like the size and shape of a snake head. There's counter shading. a black spot for an eye, and a line for a mouth. It is a snake's head. To me, a human man who knows I'm being tricked, it looks like a snake.
It is spot on, literally and figuratively.
Of course, having the appearance of a snake is great for smaller predators, but there's probably several birds and mammals that wouldn't mind chowing down on a snake either. So, what is the Atlas moth to do? The Atlas moth...
There's not only counter shading, but it looks like there's a shadow on the underbelly of the snake part. Like, wow. that is some attention to detail.
Yeah.
God.
But the Atlas moth doesn't just look like any snake. Its coloration and shape makes it look like a cobra. Now, there's a particular cobra that lives in Borneo. Borneo is a tropical paradise. It's home to many reptiles, including the Malayan spitting cobra. This cobra's venom is extremely venomous, including neurotoxins and cardiotoxins, which means it damages your heart and your brain and nervous system. So the toxin has an LD50 in mice of 0.5 micrograms. So
what was LD again? Life, death, and text.
Yeah. Lethal dose 50. So that means it would kill 50% of mice. A group of mice, it would kill 50. A group of 100 mice, it would kill 50 of them.
Or like the amount. This is the amount that would kill 50% of a population of mice.
In other words, a hardy mouse might survive, and a weak mouse might survive less.
Yes.
But 0.5 micrograms. That's
not a lot.
That's a snowflake is 2 milligrams, and a microgram is what? How does the metric system work? 1,000.
No, wait.
Micrograms go into a milligram.
Because nanograms are a tenth of a milligram, I think.
And how many is a mammogram? One milligram is 1,000 micrograms.
Okay.
So that's quite a small, not even a full microgram, dog. That's little. That's a tiny amount. So most animals stay far away from this cobra. So when the moth is threatened, it will land and start fanning its wings to appear as snake-like as possible. It's not just relying on the excellent rendering the Lord has provided its wings, but it actually tries to mimic snake-like movement. So
that is incredible.
There's a picture of them on a tree branch, and it straight up looks like a coil of several snakes. Like you would be walking by it and flinch and move away from it and think there's 2 or 3 snakes in there. And you'd be wrong, because it's just a gentle moth.
It's a completely harmless moth that's gonna die of starvation pretty soon here.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because when it's like wings are folded, it looks like 2 snakes looking out in the same direction. That it looks so crazy. It's very close to the real deal. I think this might take the cake when it comes to mimicry.
Yeah.
And on this show.
It's the best mimicry so far.
Outside of maybe like the leaf bug or the thorn bug, like it's pretty good.
Yeah, plus like the monarch butterfly and the viceroy butterfly.
Yeah, but at least that's like mimicking another butterfly.
Yeah,
this is mimicking a snake. Like the moth has and the snake have no they're so far apart from each other, and their body shapes are so different that it still manages to look pretty darn intimidating.
Yeah, and like other butterflies and moths have just big eye spots. So it's like, is that just a big face? It doesn't look like a specific thing. But this looks like a specific thing.
Yeah.
And it looks really, really a lot like a specific thing. It's really hard to believe that this is a product of... There once was a moth that sort of had a defect that looked like sort of like a snake. And it survived and passed on its genes and so on and so on and so on. And now we have it's a snake. It looks exactly like a snake.
And a specific snake. So what we should have is a bunch of moths in the area that look like a whole bunch of snakes, but the ones that have a better chance of survival are the ones that look like the deadlier snake. So like it just keeps getting like the criteria just keeps getting shaved down until all you're left with is moths that look exactly like a very particular hyper deadly snake. When, like, if you looked like any snake, I think you'd be fine.
Yeah. Unless you look like a snake that looks delicious to certain birds.
All right, so that was the Atlas moth. So for you out there in Podcastia, eat your eggs, stay beautiful, and keep your snake hands to yourself. Like the Atlas moth here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, I just want to remind you that we now have a Patreon. Patrons can see full video episodes and get shoutouts on the show. But ultimately, it's a way for you to help us cover some costs and get even better. Still, reviews are the best way to help us grow. So if you haven't left one yet, we'd really love to hear from you. As always, thanks for listening and engaging.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
Excellent. Excellent. Is it almost bath time?
Bath time is at 6:30.
Ooh.